Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back today with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Chris, what's up?
How you doing, Ross?
You know I'm doing good.
It's a beautiful day in Austin today.
It is.
We've been blessed with some moderate to not severe heat.
Yeah, you hit the lake yesterday, huh?
Yeah, nice little surf sesh. That's my happy place, people. I love surfing. One of my favorite activities out there. You go like 10.5 miles an hour. I used to wakeboard quite a bit, but falling at 22 miles an hour is just not ideal once you get past the age of about 17.
Right.
So
that water's hard. It feels like concrete when you hit it going that speed.
Absolutely. I tore a shoulder muscle when I was younger wakeboarding, and since then I've been a little scared of it. But I actually got on the wakeboard yesterday for the first time in a while. Back leg is feeling quite sore today.
Feeling the strain of that?
That is why we skipped leg day this morning.
I had no idea. I always see people put up these videos of them surfing on the lake and behind a typical speedboat that I would expect people to be wakeboarding or skiing off of or water skiing off of or whatever. And I always thought those surfboards were physically attached to the boat. And Chris explained to me, like, the way this worked. We don't have to get into it today, but, like, I had no idea you freaks were out there, like, legit surfing on specially constructed boats with, like, parts added and shit to create this never-ending wave that you can surf on behind the boat at, a certain speed or whatever. I thought there was, like, a string between the surfboard and the boat. I'm ignorant.
Ross thought we were cheating.
I'm ignorant is the point.
He had an epiphany last night.
Yeah. This morning, while Chris and I were working on the outline, I threw on one of my all-time favorite comedies that's on HBO Go right now, which is about to disappear forever, by the way. I'm assuming it's also on HBO Max. I didn't check. But it's called Almost Heroes. I wanted to get us some comedic vibes as we were writing. And it was Chris Farley's final film, 1998's Almost Heroes, starring Farley and Matthew Perry of Friends fame, of course. And if I'm not mistaken, this is like the last thing anybody tried to put Matthew Perry in. They play an explorer duo going up against Lewis and Clark. And it's one of the more absurd and, like, comically bad movies ever. But it's also very, very funny to me. Like, it's like one of those movies, it's like intentionally shitty almost.
Yeah.
Like, there's scenes where they just they had to have, they like just straight up didn't try. Like, we noticed some of the stuntmen scenes, like, where you're like, it could not more obviously be someone other than Chris Farley and Matthew Perry in that canoe that just went over that rock
river
cliff or whatever. Yeah.
You usually see in movies, you see the, like, when they have a stunt person in, it's
back of them or
the back of them or some fade out shot.
This is straight up from the front.
Seriously, it looked like every other shot they had just 10 feet further back.
And two different people other than that were not Chris Farley and Matthew Perry in the canoe.
I don't even think they could find a fat guy. I think they just put a skinny guy in a fat man's suit.
And they had like a shitty fake beard on him and like,
they said
and
go
a
for
wig.
it.
It was very clearly a wig to try to match Chris Farley's hair. So my point being, it's a very strange movie to watch because it almost feels like they didn't put very much effort in.
It feels almost like an indie, like a passion
like a
project
parody.
film. Yes,
it really is strange.
Like Monty Python vibes almost.
Very good point. It is almost like Monty Python vibes because like the costumes and shit are like silly and shoddy.
Like Chris Farley's wearing basically a button-down flannel, and then he just throws a leather skin vest over top of it
with
and
tassels and shit.
Yeah, and he calls that his out. That's so
his
funny.
Explorer outfit.
That's it.
Anyway, this is a movie that you either hate or love when you watch it. I put up a picture on Instagram that we were watching the movie, and people were like, I've spoken about it before, like very briefly here and there over the years. And I got some DMs. One of them was like, I finally watched this movie. It was utter trash. And I responded, well, now we have to fight. I think his name was Dan. And then I got another DM from somebody who was like, one of the all-time greatest underrated comedies. So it's like really one of those you love it or hate it movies. And I feel like it's people who are huge Chris Farley fans thoroughly enjoy it.
Are going to love it, yeah.
Whereas people who don't care so much about that aspect of it, and maybe don't get it, that it's like supposed to be stupid and silly.
Yeah.
I can see how you would walk away from that one like, what the hell did I just watch? But you caught, I don't know, probably 20 minutes here and there while we were working on shit. What did you think of the little bit that you saw?
I mean, you may love it or you may hate it, but I guarantee you're going to be entertained. Because the entire time I watched, I couldn't look away. I just wanted to see what was going to happen.
Like,
Chris
what?
Farley takes on the character. His character yells significantly more in this movie than anything else I've ever seen him in. he'll be having a normal conversation, and then he just starts screaming at somebody full volume, and he lowers the octave of his voice like 2 levels, so it's just like gruff and tough kind of scream.
His explorer voice.
His explorer voice. But it was very entertaining. I liked what I saw so far. I'm looking forward to going back probably after we hit the bong on the back porch.
Watch the rest of that thing.
Yeah,
or start it over.
Or probably
perhaps.
start it over, yeah.
It's not long. I want to say it's like just over an hour because it's so
I felt like we were
silly.
on the falling action by the time we left the house, and we only had it on for an hour, yeah.
Yeah. One of the scenes from this film is something that is one of the parts where he's yelling. Matthew Perry, not to spoil anything here. It's not really a spoiler. It is a spoiler. Matthew
also,
Perry.
This came out 22 years ago, so.
Yeah, Matthew Perry. I was 11 years old when this came out.
I was -1.
Matthew Perry's teaching Chris Farley. Thank you for aging me. Chris Farley how to read, because Chris Farley doesn't know how to read, and they get to the letter A, and then the lowercase a, and then Chris Farley's brain can't handle it anymore, and he goes, "For the love of God, no more for tonight," and I yell that all the time because I feel that every day.
Is that when he talks about his brain's gonna explode?
Do you want my brain to explode? Yeah, he can't handle learning one letter of the alphabet. Can't handle it. We got a great show lined up for y'all today. We're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff, starting out with some TikTok drama, moving into Kanye West's latest episode that I will leave my commentary for that segment, and then some insane headlines of the day and some sports news as well. But first, new sponsor alert. Listen up. RBP 316 is brought to you by Cuts Clothing. Y'all have heard me speak about Cuts a few times now. Y'all know I'm a t-shirt god. T-shirts every day. Half the reason I chose this career, as I say, is so I could wear t-shirts every day. The other half was so I could help people. T-shirts and helping people. People helping people. In t-shirts. And while the t-shirt is a menswear staple, it's long been plagued by horrible conditions like shrinkage, bacon neck, color fade, parachute fit, wrinkles, stretching, to name a few. And no matter how long you've settled for basic tees, it's long enough. Every classic deserves a modern take, and Cuts Clothing has completely changed the game. Their t-shirt has enough quality and style to wear in the office, on a date, or anywhere in between, so now you don't have to choose between a classic look and a modern feel. In 2016, Stephen Borelli was struggling to find the perfect t-shirt. He wanted something that had enough quality to be worn professionally at work, yet also enough style for a night out. No matter where he looked, nothing fit the bill. So he took matters into his own hands, and the result was a product you could be proud to wear anytime, anywhere, without sacrificing comfort. Call it the Steve Jobs advantage if you want. Stop spending so much time and energy picking out clothes in the morning. Throw on a Cuts shirt, some pants, and get on with your day. You'll be ready for anything. The simple sophistication and versatility of a Cuts shirt means you'll never again have to spend time thinking about what you should wear. That's why Cuts is the only shirt worth wearing, loved by your favorite athletes, entrepreneurs, and even podcast hosts. I literally have 4 of them in the washing machine right now. It seems like everyone is wearing Cuts these days. I'm wearing them several times a week. Most comfortable, best fitting tees I've ever owned. Literally a cut above the hundreds of other t-shirts that I own, in large part due to the Cut. Just perfectly made t-shirts. Get 15% off your first order by going to cutsclothing.com/RBP. That's cutsclothing.com/RBP for 15% off the only shirt worth wearing. Some announcements and shouts. Huge happy birthday to Stephanie Vidal.
Steph.
Vidal? Vidal?
I'm actually not sure.
It's
I've never
Steph.
clarified. It's Steph to all of
Steph.
us.
She's turning 22 today. Thank you for all your support, Steph, for being such an active listener and supporter of the show. It means a lot.
And Discord.
And Twitch. Shouts to Brandon Mayo. Congrats on the painting skills. Big shouts to Matt Blair for listening and always hitting the hotline. We have now named 2 episodes of this show after this gentleman's hotline calls.
That we have.
It's an impressive feat.
We need to figure out what the first one is.
Yeah, Matt, holler at us and tell us what the first one was. I know you hit Chris, because Chris hit me. Ipso facto, you got to shout. Let us know which episode was the first one. Happy 21st birthday to Hans from Birmingham. You nutty bastard, you. Enjoy it. Happy birthday to Will Bancroft, coming August 9th. Readings from the TFM book, all chapters, 1 through 12, and the epilogue of my 2013 New York Times bestselling novel are available on youtube.com/Bolen Media. Go watch them. I believe 2 of the final 3 chapters featured Coles in the background on the casting couch.
Most of them.
Did they not?
Laughing hysterically most of the time.
This book aged very poorly.
Did age very poorly.
From pretty much every standpoint, and I found that to be quite funny, whereas others were quite offended. YouTube.com/Bolen Media for all 12 chapters and the epilogue of the TFM book, again, I apologize in advance for everything about it. Live readings we did every Sunday this past 10 Sundays on twitch.tv/bossrollin, where now that those readings are over, we're going to figure out what comes next on Sunday nights. But you can catch Chris and I playing Warzone with podcast listeners several times a week. We had a rough night last night, but that's neither here nor there. I kept going off, and our teammates were too drunk to help.
The whiskey sours were not helping our buddies.
They crushed the team's morale.
As well as my computer having a potato night.
Yeah, your computer was a literal potato. A literal potato. So tune in when you see us live on twitch.tv/bossrollin if you're looking for some entertainment. Come heavy or not at all. First segment, TikTok in trouble for turning pets into phones.
Good job, TikTokers.
From Daily Mail. A vet has warned a TikTok trend that involves holding pets as a phone could potentially cause long-term damage to the animal's health. The craze, which has been taken up by users in the US and the UK, sees the owner lift the pet to their ear, often upside down or in an awkward position, while reenacting a phone conversation from the 2001 film, The Princess Diaries. Was never a Princess Diaries guy.
Really?
Isn't that fucked up?
Yes.
Never a Goonies guy either.
What?
Hate them both.
Wow.
Played them on every bus ride I was on from age 10 to 15, I want to say. Every summer camp, every field trip at school, we got stuck with Princess Diaries or the Goonies, and it just something happened. I don't like the Goonies. I don't like the Princess Diaries, really. And those are considered to be classic comedies for specifically for my age range and above, too.
The Goonies played a huge role in me. That was my first. Wasn't there a childhood romance kind of at the end of it?
I believe so.
Of two of the kids and the younger. I don't know.
That was
one of my
guy.
That was one of my first feel good. You know when you're really young and you see two younger kids kiss for the first time or something like that, and you're like,
okay,
oh, okay, I get it.
All
I
right.
want that.
I could
That's
do
nice.
that. I could do that.
That was the Goonies for me. That was my first moment where I was like, oh, that's dope. I would like a girl like that. That's pretty cool.
It came out in 1985, Coles.
Really?
That was 2 years before my ass was born.
Oh, geez, I didn't realize how old it was. We had a Goonies on you know how you used to be able to buy bootleg DVDs from gas stations for $1?
Yeah,
Yeah, we had one of those. For that and the Scooby-Doo movie.
Now it's just bootleg CBD and bootleg boner pills.
Mm.
Because the DVD... I said CBD, not DVDs, right?
You did say
no,
CBD.
I crushed it. Anyway, don't like the Princess Diaries. That's neither here nor there.
I'm honestly more upset about the Princess Diaries than Goonies, but we can back to the TikTok.
I look forward to being roasted thoroughly on social media for this take. I can't help how I feel. I was born this way. I don't know what to tell you. Back to TikTok. Jessica May, and back from Daily Mail, UK leading veterinarian at the video vet service First Vet, told Female that she was concerned, Female's a media brand of some sort, that she was concerned the pets are often held inappropriately, and that the rough handling of the animals could lead to damage to the back, skull, or spine. Meanwhile, canine behavior and training manager Janine Pemberthy of Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. How did they pick the people to get as sources here?
I have no idea. I've never heard. First of all, just so you guys know, Female is Femail, which at first, is that the Daily Mail, but only for females, or is it for felines?
It's a hell of a guess.
Is it is it male for felines?
It's Daily Mail, fashion news, beauty tips, and trends.
Ah.
Female.
Huh.
You get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The implication being that only women would care about fashion news, beauty tips, and trends. Sexist.
I was going to say, I care about fashion tips and trends and beauty tips.
I care about pets potentially being damaged because TikTokers are trying to use them as phones.
So did you look up any of these videos? Because
Yes.
I looked up first of all, I look at we have a pug back home, Otis. Love Otis. I would never think about picking up Otis by his stomach and yanking his back against my head like some of these TikTok people are doing. They're just yossing these people around.
Because they're pretending it's a phone and you're picking it like...
I guess, but I mean, I'm going to take care of my animal, pick them up nice and pick them up and hello.
If you're gonna pretend your pet is a phone...
You still have to take care of
you
your
should do it
pet.
very gently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we should gently take care of our phones, if I'm being honest. This
I don't just whack myself in the side of the head with the thing.
It was unbelievable. They're throwing these things up upside down, and I can't believe it.
There's some concerning quotes here. Oh, first of all, Janine, I didn't mean to get you out of your quote here. She said that handling pets in such a way is, quote, distressing to the animal and puts them, quote, at risk of being injured, which, of course, is just common fucking sense. I don't even know that they needed sources for this.
You would think.
Problem is, these people are turning them upside down, holding them at odd angles with their limbs sticking up in the air for comedic value. And here's a quote from the Daily Mail. Although it is not always possible to see, it appears as though the pets are not always put down safely. One video shows a cat being placed on a counter only to immediately slip and fall off, which I should note does not matter because, as we all know, cats always land on their feet. I've seen cats eat shit out of trees at 15 feet and be totally fine. I doubt very much this cat was in any immediate danger. That being said, I find it hilarious that they're speculating that the animals might not always be put down safely. Of course they're not always being put down safely. Also, that sounds like they're being euthanized. When they're not. They're in fact just being put down like a phone would be. But in an unsafe manner, apparently. TikTok, here's my thing, and we've touched on it before. I get that one idiot did this, right? One idiot was like, I'm going to use my cat as a phone and just get mad views, bro, and crazy likes. It's going to be lit.
That's exactly what they said.
And then that worked.
Yep.
And that dude got 40 billion views or whatever. TikTok is copycat hell.
Yes.
If a trend... It shouldn't even be called a trend. It's just people copying each other.
Well, the thing about TikTok is the way that it uses its sounds. Like, you create an original sound, and then that's what creates the trend. So now that sound exists, so all these people inherently are just yanking that sound and redoing the trend. So it's almost...
So if you're trying to imagine what that means, if you're not a TikTok person or you're 33 like me, it means that you can go into TikTok and select the original video's sound, the background sound from that video, the
which
recorded
in this case is the phone call from Princess Diaries.
And you can apply that sound to your recording. So you do your recording, and whatever the fuck you say doesn't matter because you're going to have that other sound coming out over it, and you try to make your lips match up or whatever, and it's funny, and everybody laughs, and you get a like, and then the algorithm serves you into some fucking nightmare spin circle of TikTok sadness.
And I guarantee you this is what happened with this one. The very first person that did it probably did pick up their animal in a nice way, put it up to their ear, and then set them down. And then somebody else was like, oh, I bet it'll be even funnier if I yank up Jeffrey.
I'm aggressive.
Yeah, if I'm aggressive and just whip my cat up off the ground.
Kitty.
And then it went from there. And it's very, well, now at least now we've added an additional way to get TikTok famous. One, we have create actual good content. Good for you people. Proud of you guys. Two, TikTok dances. Not as proud of you guys, if I'm being completely honest.
Not proud. I'm not
animal
proud of any of you
abuse.
for
I'm
dancing.
not proud of any of you guys at all for your animal abusive TikTok fame.
It reminded me of course, TikTok is just like Vine, let's say 3.0. For those of you who remember Vine back in the day. It reminded me of disgraced comedian Chris D'Elia. He used to have a bit where he would pick up his two dogs, and I believe they were Yorkies, and use them like they were machine guns. He'd be like, with his dogs. And it was quite funny. So where the fuck were you on that one, PETA?
So is this TikTokers picking up Chris D'Elia's cultist animal
abuse?
Vine abuse
Are
craziness?
all of the TikTokers using their cats and dogs as phones also underage predators? It's a question for actual journalists to answer.
I think this is above our paid grade.
It is.
We report, you decide.
Yeah, that's exactly right. RBP 316 is also brought to you by Bird Dogs, makers of the most comfortable all-purpose shorts in the fucking world. You can literally wear them to do anything, anywhere, at any time. They're gym shorts with a built-in silky soft inner liner that makes underwear obsolete. Shockingly comfortable, honestly. Coles and I have been rocking ours to play basketball, working out in the Ross Fit gym. They're great. Feels like you're wearing nothing, which makes it a little awkward when we're working out together.
I realized that why my shot was off yesterday because I wasn't wearing my Bird Dogs.
That's on you.
It added an extra 6 ounces to my legs. I was short the whole day.
Threw off the equilibrium.
It's terrible.
Because you didn't have on your bird dogs. That's a mistake. They dry faster than a bathing suit. Bird dogs, you can hit a workout, jump straight in the pool, get out, dry off in the sun, then wear them to drive around in your Tesla because you have a Tesla now. Then drive that Tesla back home and wash it with your golden retriever Elvis because you're wearing bird dogs. And bitch, you can do anything. Go to birddogs.com, enter the promo code RBP when you check out, and get this. They'll throw in a free bird dogs face mask. They say it's like a condom, but for your mouth. Free Bird Dogs face mask along with your pair of Bird Dogs. They're actually very high-quality masks. Beautiful, beautiful masks. Birddogs.com, code RBP, boom. Free Bird Dogs face mask with your order. Enjoy your Bird Dogs. You will never want to take them off. They're a safe space for all your most valuable possessions. Next segment. Kanye West situation escalates yet again.
We're back.
Chris, I said last episode on
did.
Monday that I didn't really want to cover this latest Kanye West episode. Mental episode.
Yeah.
But alas, we are a mental health podcast, and I was once a massive Kanye West fan. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Watch the Throne and College Dropout are all in my top 10 rap albums ever. Just albums ever for me, not even just rap albums. And this man is in a rough place. So let's take this back to where it sort of started.
Sure.
Okay, in an interview years ago, Kanye acknowledged that he was diagnosed bipolar.
Yes.
I believe it was with David Letterman. And he spoke in a semi-poignant way to how that impacted him. Mm-hmm. Okay, in this interview, he was clearly in a place where he was not yet, he was not experiencing a manic episode during the interview, or it didn't seem that he was.
Yes,
he
sure,
seemed
sure.
relatively all there, as he explained it. Now, since that interview, we have seen multiple instances of Kanye on social media that seemed as if he was having a very serious episode, a very serious manic episode, or at the very least, in some cases, it was like, is he really having an episode, or is he using this to drum up publicity, has been the question that a lot of people ask. At this point, I don't think it's a question anymore, that it's just literally a man experiencing extreme mental health difficulties in a year that has been extremely difficult for all mental health patients, and then people who have never, like we've said many times, people who don't have bipolar or anxiety or panic disorder or depression. It's still a tough year for them mentally.
Absolutely.
Well, last night, after a week where we've seen him hold one of the more outrageous political events of all time in the form of a South Carolina presidential rally, doing air quotes here, in which he openly wept about wanting to abort his daughter North, and claimed that Harriet Tubman didn't actually free the slaves, but simply sent them to work for other white people in an attempt to make a larger point about black people in America not being in positions of power and always being below white people. The man went ham again on Twitter, this time blasting out confusing images to promote what he says is his latest upcoming album, dropping this Friday, allegedly.
There's a name for it.
Donda, named after his late mother, Donda West. This is not the first time he has attempted to drop an album titled Donda, and it is not the first time he has told us that an album will be coming out, when I can now guarantee you that it will not be. I can't guarantee it, but the odds that we see a new Kanye West album this Friday, I would say, are somewhere between 0 and 5%.
The song list did not look finished. The names of the songs and everything, it did not look at a point where they were prepared for release in, 2 days? 2 days.
Yeah. It looked like the work of someone experiencing a very serious mental health episode.
Absolutely.
And I get the side of that feels artistic for him, okay? I understand that as he's ramping up, as it's called when you're experiencing a bipolar episode, he feels all this energy and like the desire to put all this stuff out and do all and just like overactivate himself.
Yes.
Create. This is what I'm in my. But not since we first saw him start to struggle with this, as you and I were discussing in the car on the way over. The first album that he put out after talking about his bipolar issues was The Life of Pablo, and it's the one where it's the first album he's put out that felt rough.
Yes.
A little more incomplete. That he literally did change after the release, added tracks, changed up some of the shit, like remastered and mixed some of the songs that were on there, put them back in, which he has the ability to do now, as all artists do on Spotify and Apple, whatever the fuck.
And that was that Life of Pablo tour was kind of the one where that was like right in 2016, right? And he was starting to advocate for Trump in a little bit, if I'm correct.
It's when things started to get really weird.
And some of the things that happened on it was the Elevated Stage tour, I believe, I want to say.
Yep.
And there were some things that I remember there were a couple concerts that he had where he went on some rants that a lot of people were like, what is he talking about? What does he say? It was kind of the start
he's always done the rants.
Mm-hmm.
They got more and more incoherent during that stage.
Yeah, correct.
Where it was like...
People were like, wait, what?
It went from like funny shit like him saying that he's bigger than Walt Disney because Walt Disney never had a bad bitch like he does, to him saying shit about like fucking social issues that he shouldn't have been talking about, or like clearly doesn't have productive takes on, or is just he just got weird, man. Things started to get really, really confusing and strange around that period, and after the Life of Pablo, he's never really come back to a place where it felt like he was all the way mentally healthy, just from my standpoint as a guy who has experienced a lot of that shaky mental health. I'm not bipolar. I don't know what that feels like, but I have a fairly good idea based on some relatives and just my general struggles with panic disorder at times. When you're having a panic attack, you can feel so disassociated and like weird that it's almost like a very short bipolar episode could feel. But yeah, this got last night's Twitter storm, we can call it. I was like awake, okay?
Sure.
So I was watching it unfold live before he deleted all of it, and it was just nuts. Like, I'll read you. In one of them, he said he's been demanding a divorce from Kim Kardashian since, well, I guess I should just read this. I've been trying to get divorced since Kim met with Meek at the Waldorf for prison reform.
Yeah.
He's referring to Meek Mill. He then went on to say that it was not Meek's fault, that that's his dog, and that Kim was the one that was out of pocket and that acted inappropriately, which is problematic for a number of reasons. But and that's not even, we don't even know what the fuck. That could have been, nothing happened there. Again, a guy that is clearly experiencing a manic episode, it doesn't seem his connection with reality is incredibly strong at the moment. Who knows if anything inappropriate even happened? I don't know how it must be incredibly difficult for Kim as a wife, whether it is a legitimate love marriage relationship or it is just a bit, they have kids together and shit. This cannot be easy one way or the other for anybody involved, right? Later, he referred to his mother-in-law, Kris Jenner, as Kris Jong-un.
That was a very interesting one for me.
And then he talked more about how Kris and Kim tried to get him locked up. They sought a 5150, which is a California welfare code allowing for people who may be a danger to themselves to be placed in an involuntary hold.
Correct. It's basically the idea that if a celebrity or something like that, especially, it happens a lot with celebrities, is going crazy, they can call the police and issue a 5150 to put them in like a 72-hour, almost kind of drunk type of thing, but more like a mental
to make
state
sure you don't hurt yourself.
Hurt somebody else, go on some crazy celebrity psycho rampage.
I want to say Britney Spears has had a couple 5150s. Lindsay Lohan, perhaps.
That was going to be my follow-up. Yeah.
You don't want to get 5150'd, obviously. Quote, one of his tweets, Kim was trying to fly to Wyoming with a doctor to lock me up like on the movie Get Out because I cried about saving my daughter's life yesterday. Which is the one that's really telling to me, because that's obviously not why she tried to get a doctor out there.
And so this is where things start to get... The thing is, we don't know enough, but this is where, if you are going to speculate, is Kim trying to go up there to help him, and he has now put himself in a state where he sees all others outside of him as the enemy, which, when you're in a mental state like that, is very... That's what happens. You, all of a sudden, there are sides to everything.
Right.
You feel like people are against you. You feel like...
Anybody trying to help you is attacking.
If they're not for you and for... It's a weird thing, too, because...
You see this happen with people getting interventions all the time.
Absolutely.
With drug addicts and alcoholics and the like.
Absolutely.
People come to help, and they think, no, I don't have a problem. Y'all are the problem. I'm fine. Y'all are fucking crazy. You're trying to get me locked up in rehab or some shit like... Fuck y'all.
Or even on a more moderate level, for me personally, with anxiety or depression and things like that,
sure.
When I go through a depressive state, sometimes I have to remind myself that the people around me are there to try to help me, because I think, like, oh, my brain is fucked up. I can figure this out on my own. I've been through this before. Just let me go through my process.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
But then I realize when I take a step back and I take a deep breath, the people around me are there to help me. They want to get to the same end goal that I'm attempting to get to, but it can be a very defensive thing when you're going through that type of state.
It's scary.
It is very scary because you have to basically let it out of your hands completely. And when it's your own mind that is doing the things that are making you do what you're doing, it's very hard to give somebody that control. Very hard to
And
give
especially if you're a guy like Kanye who feels or has convinced himself that his creativity can be fueled by or driven by this sort of energy that he's receiving as a result of his bipolar.
Which, let's look at the timeline. That's not the case. I can't agree with that take.
At all.
No.
He has not put out a single thing to me that felt complete or made sense since he has clearly stopped. I don't know if it's that he's not taking his medication properly or if it really is that he's struggling this hard this often, but he hasn't put together a project that felt complete or really done anything outside of shoes. And even then, with some of the shoes, where I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? It's been a while since I copped a pair of Yeezys. Even though I'm literally wearing some as we speak. They're old.
Yeah.
They're the old Kanye
Yeah, they're
that
the
made
Yeezy
these ones.
Boosts.
He also accused the Kardashians of white supremacy and said Get Out was about him and everyone knows it.
Did you see the NBC locked up Bill Cosby tweet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out of left field.
He also said a lot about MJ, Michael Jackson. He kept referencing MJ, tried to warn y'all, saying things that just were very clearly just strange. When we spoke about it on Monday, we mentioned wanting people to get the fuck out there and help this dude.
Yes.
Right? We were like, why is he out there alone, like running wild? What the hell is happening? Where is his family? Where are his friends? Is he just surrounded literally by yes men and sycophants at this point? Like, is there nobody there? Then, between Monday and last night's episode, he tweeted out a video where several of his friends, I guess, had come out, including Dave Chappelle, most notably, and he almost put up this video in an attempt to say, hey, look, I'm okay.
Yeah. Or not, I have people around,
Yes.
I have my people around me.
Yes, and it still didn't come off as normal. While he didn't look like disheveled, that's the thing about him. He's still able to put together like a fucking dope outfit and looks like he's like showering and stuff. Like when I'm at my worst, you can tell.
Well, the thing is,
Physically, like you can tell.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
What I'm saying?
Well, it seems that he has created the world that he is living in. Do you get what I'm saying?
He's built himself this fucking bubble.
To where he is doing, in his mind, of course he's getting dressed normally and looking fresh like he always does and is well put together because there's nothing to be worried about. He thinks that he's coming to all these enlightening conclusions and
making progress.
Making progress, exactly. And so,
when in reality, he's just not connected to any
reality. He's not connected to any reality. And he's created this world for himself. And I think we have to take a second to remember, too, his actual closest friends around him, just like if we were to... Good thing is you and I deal with mental health struggles and stuff like that. And I'm assuming a lot of people in his circle deal with mental health struggles as well. I know Cuddy does.
Sure.
But
Cuddy wasn't out there, for the record, in that video anyway.
And so going off of that, these people around him are not mental health professionals.
No, Dave Chappelle's a comedian.
Yes. So for us to expect them to be able to go in there and help him, that's a very difficult thing to do if you never grew up talking about mental health. A lot of these guys that are around Kanye now probably grew up in a way that emotions and mental health was never discussed.
And not something that they have a great, feel for.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, dude, I know a shitload about mental health, that if you sent my ass out there to try to take care of or help this man who has bipolar and is experiencing an episode, if that is indeed the case.
And is one of the largest...
I don't know what the fuck I would do.
One of the largest celebrities on the planet.
Because all you can say is, hey, man, you really need to take your medication. And if he says, fuck you, it's over. The conversation is over.
Or, hey, man, is everything good? And he's like, yeah, man, great. What are you talking about?
Let's get in the studio. Let's make some beats. So on the video with Dave Chappelle, he's like, Dave, brother, we need you. We need your humor. We need your light now more than ever. Tell us a joke. Tell us all something now to help us laugh. And Dave's like, Yeah, no, man. Give me a minute. I haven't even had my first cup of coffee, and it like awkward. They're like, ha ha ha, and Kanye almost has like this fake laugh. It's like, it gets really strange, and then the joke that they settle on is he's like, come on, brother, say something uplifting to help us, and Dave's like, uplifting and positive. You know I don't write jokes like that. And then Kanye's like, well, we'll count that as the joke, and then everybody like awkwardly walks away, and it's like, shit. And it makes me wish so badly that Chappelle would put out a statement about like what he saw and what he feels, but at the same time, it's not his business, right?
And we do have to remember this is somebody's life.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what happens behind closed doors is Kanye's personal life. We as onlookers can only reach out with support and we can only speculate, and we are not the people to help Kanye. We're the people to hopefully put the people that can help Kanye into a mental state where they realize how much he needs support and help and growth. But I have no idea how to reach that.
Now, here's the problem. Today, finally, Kim releases a statement, right,
Okay.
which pretty much sums up what you're speaking to
Okay.
in terms of its unsolvability. She releases a statement on Instagram stories. Here it is. As many of you know, Kanye has bipolar disorder. Anyone who has this or has a loved one in their life who does knows how incredibly complicated and painful it is to understand. I've never spoken publicly about how this has affected us at home because I'm very protective of our children and Kanye's right to privacy when it comes to his health. But today, I feel like I should comment on it because of the stigma and misconceptions about mental health. Those that understand mental illness or even compulsive behavior know that the family is powerless unless the member is a minor. People who are unaware or far removed from this experience can be judgmental and not understand that the individual themselves have to engage in the process of getting help no matter how hard family and friends try. I understand Kanye is subject to criticism because he is a public figure and his actions at times can cause strong opinions and emotions. He is a brilliant but complicated person who, on top of the pressures of being an artist and a black man who experienced the painful loss of his mother and has to deal with the pressure and isolation that is heightened by his bipolar disorder, because it seems like he just bailed the Wyoming solo. Those who are close with Kanye know his heart and understand his words sometimes do not align with his intentions, that's never been at question with him. There's always been... He's never been a good communicator except through song. Whenever he's done radio interviews, whenever he goes on those rants during his concerts, they never make sense. They're usually nonsensical. He bounces from idea to idea to idea to idea. It's always been something he's struggled with. And so, yes, sometimes I do genuinely believe what she's saying there, that what you were speaking to earlier, he thinks he's accomplishing shit. He thinks he's out there doing the right thing, and that everybody else is fucked up, that his family is fucked up, that Kim, he wants a divorce from her, blah, blah, blah. Saying he basically last night was like, if I never see my kids until they're 18, so be it, but I'm going to live for my children, which doesn't make sense and is frankly irresponsible and weird. But to continue with her statement, living with bipolar disorder does not diminish or invalidate his dreams and his creative ideas, no matter how big or unobtainable they may feel to some. That is part of his genius, and as we have all witnessed, many of his big dreams have come true. And that is very fair as well. Nobody believed this doofus when he was like, I'm going to make $1 billion shoe brand. People were like, you're a rapper, please stick to rapping. He made $1 billion shoe brand out of Yeezy. That is a ridiculously large. I think now he's claiming $3 billion. He's doing a lot of Trump-style numbers and work here, just like the Kardashians do with their $1 billion Kylie statements and all that nonsense. But continuing, we as a society talk about giving grace to the issue of mental health as a whole. However, we should also give it to the individuals who are living with it in times when they need it most. I kindly ask that the media and public give us the compassion and empathy that is needed so that we can get through this. Thank you for those who have expressed concern for Kanye's well-being and for your understanding. With love and gratitude, Kim Kardashian West. Him blaming all this stuff on his wife and sort of, freaking out about the doctor thing and about... them releasing a statement without his permission, as he put it, basically. It reminded me of a line of his from what I consider to perhaps be his best song ever, one of the greatest songs ever written, in my opinion, Runaway, where he's like, and I'll just blame everything on you. At least you know that's what I'm good at. And that's before he really started to experience these manic episodes, as far as I can recall, and at least in my limited knowledge of his life and mental health issues.
Yeah. And so that's going back, the point I think that stuck out to me most about what you were saying, including that whole statement and everything, is when you said you're a rapper, stick to rap, when he wanted to start a fashion brand. Mm-hmm. And then it was you're a fashion designer, stick to fashion and rap. And he's succeeded at everything that he has attempted to do. And now we're back in the exact same spot where people are saying, you cannot do this. You can't be a politician. You can't be a social advocate. You can't run for president. And he's like, well, why the fuck not? I've done everything else people have told me that I can't do. And so he's going
Makes
to
it even more difficult.
Exactly. I have no clue. It really is an unsolvable equation until mentally he gets in the point where he has the self-awareness and eye-opening to see that he
is in an episode,
yeah. And it's hard to watch. It genuinely is difficult to watch as somebody that struggles with mental health, because this is a man that has given so many people so much fantastic music, and I've talked about how much music means to me and its ability to impact emotions and everything like that. And Kanye is one of the best at putting out music that can impact emotion and leave a lasting impact. And to now see the creator of that fantastic art going through this type of mental, episode, through this type of mental episode is very difficult to watch from afar.
Yeah, the first time around on Monday when we sort of like briefly discussed it, and I mean that's why I don't like talking about this particular situation, because I'm scared of how it ends.
Me too.
I don't know that.
And I don't want to talk about it in a celebratory manner either. I don't want to be. This is a issue that should be treated with the utmost respect, and Kanye shouldn't be looked at as an experiment or like something to watch.
We all watch it like it's reality TV.
Yes, and it shouldn't be reality TV when he's going through a bipolar and manic episode.
The issue is, because of his celebrity and his ability to broadcast to millions and millions and millions of fans on a whim through Twitter, which, by the way, so I literally watched that unfold, tweet, and then as I was like, I'd read them all, and then I was going back through them just to kind of try to process, and they started disappearing as I was reading them, and it was just, I mean, that was, dude, honestly, I was laying in bed, and a wave of sadness, came over me, because at that moment, either he or someone with access to his phone was physically having to delete all these wild-ass tweets, and it just made it real.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is really difficult for me to decide how much we should talk about a guy like that going through something like this when he is on that level of celebrity. It just, I don't know how we don't talk about it, because it's literally in our face.
And I do think it should be talked about. I absolutely do think it should be talked about. I do just think that we
in a respectful way.
In a very respectful way, and we need to realize that this is a man. This is a human being. This is a person with children, with a family, with people around him that care about him, with people that aren't related to him that care dearly about him. All his fans that really genuinely care about Kanye and his health and his mental well-being. I get that it's easy to make jokes about somebody a celebrity that decides on a whim to run for president, and he's out in the spotlight and he's saying these outrageous
wild
things.
Shit. Yeah.
It's easy to make jokes about that, but we need to have the self-awareness and realization that this man is going through something very serious mentally.
And dangerous, frankly.
Very dangerous mentally. And to look out for your people and use this as an ability to educate yourself on what bipolar is. Educate yourself on mental episodes. Educate yourself on ways to help people that are going through this, because you might not be able to help Kanye, but you can help somebody around you going through what Kanye is going through.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Even for somebody, I got diagnosed with panic disorder when I was 21 or 22. I started experiencing it at 21. I can't remember what the exact day I got diagnosed properly finally, where I was like, that's it. That's the thing. And from that point, so let's say at least 9 years ago, I didn't read or research a single fucking thing about my own condition out of fear for it. Out of fear that it would, I mean, it's scary, man, to know you have some shit and to then read it on paper. Now, here's the thing. Somebody sent me an article last week, and I may have said this already, but somebody sent me an article. It was the, CDC or one of the health organizations that we have, their textbook definition of panic disorder, and it was like a 12 bullet point list of things, and 10 of them were just my life. And I was like, and it made me feel better. But the point is this. It's not something I've done a good job of, researching enough on specific mental health diagnoses that in a way that I can then speak more to like I know people with bipolar.
Yeah.
I've never really read anything about it. I know I have a general idea for how sort of the manic episodes work, but outside of that, I don't know much about the medication. I don't know much about, outside of that, I know Kanye once told us that we never wanted to see him off as Lexapro. We are now seeing what that may look like. Maybe, I don't know. We don't know if he's medicated. We don't even know. That's the problem.
We don't know.
And here's where I struggle. It's like, because I'm worried, right?
Yeah.
I think most people watching this unfold on Twitter are concerned. Even if you're entertained by it or you think Kanye's an idiot and you wish him horrible things, I think on some level as a human being, you have to be seeing this and going, good God, what the fuck is going on up there? So we need to have a better understanding of what exactly that means.
Absolutely.
And it's something that for me, I could do a better job of. And like you said, no, you and I don't have the ability to help Kanye West, but we have the ability to help somebody in our lives that may have bipolar or may have a different mental set of circumstances than we do. And it's important that we all understand each other as best we can so that if something like this happens, you can be there in whatever way that means based on the specifics of the situation.
And use this as a moment to be able to recognize signs as well. I mean, Kanye is in a place where everybody is seeing all of his actions and everything like that. So take a moment, if you are taking the time to keep up with his tweets and watch all of his interviews and watch the rally and everything like that, take notes. Take the time to actually digest it. See what he is going through to be able to potentially help somebody in your life go through the same thing and be there for your people.
And instead of treating it like it's every time we have a celebrity with a mental health issue, we treat it like it's fodder for gossip and entertainment. It's always been the case in the U.S. We've done a terrible job. We don't give a fuck about our celebrities, frankly.
Yeah.
If they live or die.
Yeah.
It's really just about getting entertained. I'm saying on the highest level.
I mean, on the terms of, you were talking about Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears earlier.
Everybody thought that shit was hilarious.
Exactly. And looking back on it, I guarantee you there's way more mental shit than we knew that they were going through.
Look at Britney Spears today.
Yeah.
This shit isn't better.
Yeah.
It looks awful. And again, speculation. We don't fucking know. The thing that's weird for me that I meant to get back to my point that I was trying to make, when this is all unfolding in the public eye like this, I'm like, I find myself asking, like, do they need to give us more info? Like, Kim's statement is very helpful, but it also doesn't tell me what they're gonna do or like what. And I know they can't really say, right? Because then he sees it and it's like there's all these legal stipulations to this as well. I don't know what I'm asking for. It just worries me when we see this worst possible version of this unfolding and him saying he's been asking for a divorce for X amount of time since this meeting that took place with another rapper, which then just turns it into this gossip thing, and then it all wraps up into him trying to promote an album.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Okay, well, is he okay or not? Like, and can somebody tell me? Like, I just want to know what the fuck is going on. And I know that's not realistic, and I'm not ever going to know what exactly unfolded here. But you hate to see it.
And especially with this case, we're seeing pretty much all of the bad side unfold. And we don't know if anything is happening for the good side. So
maybe
it's a difficult situation.
Yeah. Hopefully at some point we get some more clarity on what exactly has unfolded here. For the sake of educating other people, I think it's incredibly important that, because in some way, shape, or form, somebody communicate what has unfolded. But more importantly than anything, that the man gets healthy, gets the help he needs. And in my opinion, it's like once you've experienced something like this a few times, which he has, like, dude, pull out. We don't need you to be Kanye West anymore then, man. Go take care of yourself. Because the thing we always say is, if you don't have your mental straight, you're not capable of helping anyone. You're not capable of doing your job right. You're not capable of being a father, a husband, in the way that you would be if your mentals were straight and if you were healthy. So it's always mental health first. Because if you don't have that,
Your mental's first.
yes,
Always
your
got to be
mental
your
health
mental's first.
and then you can do whatever else. But if you don't have your mental health right, it's very difficult. And as a person who has been in a spot where I felt like I needed family and friends to come and be there, or I didn't know what was going to happen. And unfortunately, my episodes don't result in like grandeur and fucking grandiose ideas and like me trying to pump out albums. They result in me like crying on the fucking floor. So it's like, it's different, but it's just,
Different strokes. For
I
different
know
folks.
what that feels like.
Yeah.
And I know it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like on some level, the dude has to be so scared and feel so isolated. And he clearly is just like that rally. I don't even recommend watching it. Like it's fucking, it's just disheartening to see a man struggle like that.
His pain and his emotional release is so violent. It
And
is
it's just
very
such a
disturbing
swing.
to watch.
It's such a swing from like
He'll go from a normal conversation to screaming, yelling, and crying, and then transition back into another normal conversation. It's hard to watch, yeah. All of it from afar, it's just the entire situation is very difficult. The only thing I can say is focus on your own mentals, get your own mentals in check as best you can, and then help your people.
And don't shame where you don't know. The main thing I'm seeing others with bipolar ask is that the shaming headlines stop. And that is a very fair request. Like
Or crazy Kanye, things like that, those types of headlines. He's going through a mental manic episode, and it needs to be treated as a mental manic episode, not
our entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, use it to take the opportunity to check in with your people. This year has been fuck for everybody with mental health issues. We're seeing it unfold in horrific ways in our own daily lives, with celebrities, with everything in between. It's rough, man, and people need other people to be there for them more than ever. This is a very complicated situation that, again, I have to point back to what Neil Brennan said. The more rich and powerful you are, the more difficult it is to get help when you need it, because you can tell everyone to fuck off. And there's not really anything anybody can do legally until you present a clear and present danger to yourself or others, which up until this point he must not have, or he would have been hospitalized already. So I don't know what to make of it all. I'm just praying for him and his family, and that everybody figures it out, and that they can find a way to get this out of the public eye and like take care of it privately the way it should be handled, right? That's the best we can hope for at this point. RBP 316 is also brought to you by Raycon. Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you are listening to, not what your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your roommate or whoever's right next to you is listening to. Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds, but before you go dropping hundreds of dollars on a pair, you need to check out the wireless earbuds from Raycon. You already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market. They sound just as amazing as the other top audio brands you know. Their newest model is the everyday E25 earbuds. The best ones they've made yet, in my opinion. 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls or binging podcasts. I've been jogging in them, played basketball in them, done CrossFit with them. And what's most important to me when it comes to earbuds is that they are both comfortable, they sound good, and then that they stay in my damn ear. And Raycon accomplishes all those things. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet with no dangling wires or stems to distract anyone during phone calls, video phone calls that we're all on nowadays. You've heard me talk about how the company was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Snoop Dogg and J.R. Smith are obsessed with Raycons. Pick up a pair and see what all the hype is about. Now is the time to get the latest and greatest from Raycon. Go scoop yourself some of those E25, everyday E25 earbuds by going to buyraycon.com/Ross, and you'll get 15% off your order. Get 15% off at buyraycon.com/Ross. That's BUYRAYCON.com/Ross for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Next segment. Insane headlines of the day. As y'all know, we like to do a segment where we take some of the more insane headlines in our news cycle at the moment, and sometimes they're just absurd. Sometimes they're relatively important. Today we have a slight mix of both.
Correct.
The first of which is U.S. orders China to close Houston consulate. Chris, this is an example of a headline that at the top, I just read it and I go, that's quite boring, and then I move on. I had a friend that I consider to be quite smart send me this morning, so I started reading about it. It's a much bigger deal than I realized off the headline alone.
Very intriguing and odd. All of it.
Yeah, and we know things haven't gone well this year between the United States and China as President Trump continues to call COVID the China virus and Kung flu. And now this from CNN. The United States government has abruptly ordered China to cease all operations and events at its consulate in Houston, Texas, where I was born and raised, according to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, in what it called an unprecedented escalation in recent actions taken by Washington. So, already being classified as an unprecedented escalation. Late Tuesday evening, yesterday night, police in Houston said they responded to reports of smoke in the courtyard outside the consulate, located on Montrose Boulevard in the city's Midtown area. This is a very popular, densely populated area. Local media shared video of what appeared to be officials inside the compound burning documents.
Yeah. So this is where my questions start.
Sure.
First question. It's 2020. Why are you putting anything important on a document?
Good question.
You have to have like a
These handwritten?
Right? Why are they burning paper in the first place? It has to be more secure these days to keep everything on some secure LAN network that stays within the consulate, and that's it, and you don't have to worry about paper. Why are they still worrying about paper? Second thing, apparently this courtyard is literally right below an apartment building because it was extremely easy for John on floor 62 to get a very clear video of everybody in the courtyard just dumping paper into like metal trash bins just to burn them.
It looks like old school, like a Cold War movie. Like, then I understood why they had to burn documents. Like, nowadays we have the fucking secure land computer systems. We've got the cloud and shit. We have paper
VPNs
shredders. Were the paper shredders all being used?
What?
Burning documents in an outdoor courtyard in Houston, Texas, where there's no zoning, so there's literally an apartment complex right the fuck there where people are looking out their windows going, hey, what are the Chinese doing?
Yeah, because that doesn't look suspect at all, having the Chinese consulate burn documents.
I'm going to go ahead and get a video of this. This is weird. Yeah, it is weird.
And if you're going to burn the documents, just put them in a trash bag, throw them in the car, then when you have your barbecue at your boss's house on Friday, throw them in your normal fireplace where nobody's going to suspect anything.
This is just a bizarre... What did the cops do? Like, what did HPD do? Did they roll up to the thing and, like, they, like, knock on the door and they're like, hey, China, what are you guys setting on fire back there? Come out here. Like,
they're just like, nothing.
Go away.
Don't worry about it.
I just
fine.
I don't understand what HPD was expected to do in this situation. Somebody calls in, there's smoke coming from the back of the Chinese consulate, and HPD shows up and like has absolutely no power to do anything there. U.S. State Department spokesman Morgan Ortagus said the consulate was directed to close, quote, in order to protect American intellectual property and Americans' private information. So this is more of the fear that China
is stealing our information.
We brought up TikTok earlier.
Yes.
That's been another big point of concern with TikTok, which is Chinese-owned, although they have an American CEO,
Correct.
as we have learned in the past because we educate ourselves and others here on this show. She did not immediately provide additional details of what prompted the closure, so they're not giving real specific reasons. Chinese media reported that the consulate had been given 72 hours to close. Again, doesn't really make sense to me that we were like, you're done, but you've got 72 hours. So then they all start sprinting into the backyard and lighting shit on fire.
And also, why? I don't really understand. There's 4 other consulates in the United States, I believe, from what I read, including the embassy, which is, I think, in Washington, D.C.
I will Google it.
Thank you. Why does closing one consulate have anything to do with protecting Americans' information? First of all, couldn't they just hack into our servers from China? Do they need to be... I feel like we're at the point where you don't need to be somewhere anymore.
So it's not that these guys are the guys doing it.
Okay.
It's that they're saying like, all right, China is fucking with us too much. We just need to get rid of as many different of their organizations that are in our country as possible.
And they're like, Houston, that's the one that's got to go. It's a weird story. There's not a lot of information on why that specific one was closed. There's not a lot of information on exactly what we thought they were doing at the Houston consulate. All we know is they were burning documents in trash cans in the backyard.
And that our government is worried about them taking our information.
Even though they still use paper.
Which seems silly.
It's bizarre. It's unbelievably bizarre. But
yeah.
I mean, tensions are definitely not great with China right now at all.
Mr. Pompeo said the Chinese Communist Party was stealing not just American intellectual property, but European intellectual property too, quote, costing hundreds of thousands of jobs, and that they're trying to set clear expectations for how the Chinese Communist Party is going to behave. In a year that we have seen a ton of like Chinese fear-mongering and weirdness coming from China and weirdness coming from our government in relation to China, this is just another escalation that makes me like, how does this end in a non-war way? And I mean, hopefully it just sticks to this weird online version of war that they're clearly experiencing with each other. But yeah, the foreign minister of China said the order to close the consulate was political provocation unilaterally launched by the U.S. side, which seriously violates international law, basic norms governing international relations, and the bilateral consular agreement between China and the U.S. And now another headline, an insane headline about China. China uses Muslim Uyghur forced labor to mass produce coronavirus PPE exported globally. Now, this ties to a bigger story that we actually started to discuss regarding the Uyghur Muslims last year when NBA Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey made statements about China that resulted in all this drama. Since then, things have escalated so much that nobody even cares about what Daryl said anymore because it's just that the world has gone completely chaotic.
I can't believe that was a breaking headline at one point.
Yeah, but it kind of got us to this place where we're speaking on morals versus money, and it was related to the NBA's extreme efforts to further penetrate the Chinese market, even though there is a lot of very, I guess you could say, questionable human rights issues taking place in China, specifically regarding a group of Muslims known as the Uyghur Muslims, that have been reportedly I don't know how else to, abused and rounded up and treated in a way that is very concerning in terms of they have these re-education programs.
Yeah.
That the Chinese government sees them as an extremist group and treats them as such.
That they do not fit into the policy and ideals of the Chinese People's Republic.
Yes.
People's Republic of China.
And the latest piece of news to come out of that sort of big story, that big issue, is this drone footage that was allegedly captured of them loading all of these Uyghur Muslims onto trains, which it turns out one of the things they're doing with the Uyghurs is putting them in these basically work camps to mass produce things.
Forced labor factories and things like that.
From News 18 in India, as the coronavirus pandemic continues to drive demand for personal protective equipment, that's PPE, that's what we kept having shortages of in the United States for many reasons that we don't have to get into today, but it's the stuff that we need to protect our doctors and nurses who are helping people with COVID-19.
Yes.
And Chinese companies are rushing to manufacture the gear for domestic and global consumption. A New York Times visual investigation has found that some of those companies are using Uyghur labor through a contentious government-sponsored program that experts said often puts people to work against their will. That's very problematic.
Absolutely.
Now, interestingly enough, you could draw parallels between what is happening to the Uyghur Muslims in China and our weird private prison system in the United States, where people are forced to make other types of shit. I don't know if we're doing any PPE work here, but license plates and such, which, again, I'm not going to delve any further into other than to say that we are not without our own sins here in the United States. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to paint us up to be some blemish-free society where everything is going swimmingly, and at this point, I'm not sure anyone would.
And based on things that I've read as well, don't get me wrong, there are American corporations that are not exactly...
They're benefiting directly from this.
Yes.
That these Uyghur Muslims are being put to work on things for companies that are not just Chinese companies.
No.
Which is
companies.
Very, very strange.
American-owned companies.
Huge international corporations benefiting from this forced, in some cases, Muslim Uyghur labor.
Regardless, very cheap and questionable in regards to human rights labor.
The footage that came out, this drone footage, showed shackled Chinese Muslim prisoners being herded onto trains in the Xinjiang province, I believe it's pronounced. I never get this one right. There's a denial from China, Chris, in terms of what they've said in response to this, is that every country basically loads prisoners onto trains at different points.
Yeah. It's
not a great defense.
No, not at all. And China, again, this is one of those things where China keeps kind of lock and key on this as much as possible. The drone footage that came out is really some of the only footage that you can find. There's very sparse actual physical evidence of this, but there's enough to know that it is absolutely happening in China.
Something is going on,
but
on a very high level.
And China is working very, very, very hard to keep it under wraps, which is obviously a horrible look. Horrible look. But, and this is where we go back to the money over morals types of things, obviously there are companies, corporations, and people that know where their products are coming from. They know they are not having to pay the same wages that if they were to get those products made, say, in the United States, they can pay a significantly cheaper price to get them made in China. So people are turning a blind eye to these massive human rights issues, and they need to be addressed and brought to the forefront. And this is just another thing that, again, the U.S. has, questionable things going on the government level. I will not discredit that at all, but a stand needs to be made against some of these corporations that are using damn near slave labor to produce their products.
Yeah, it's very concerning when companies that I buy things from can be tied to this.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's where it's like, I don't understand how they're getting away with it. Not the Chinese necessarily. I understand perfectly well how they're getting away with it. I don't understand how these huge public companies that are in some cases allegedly benefiting from this type of labor are able to do that without more getting under fire for it. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand.
And it's 1 to 2 million, estimated 1 to 2 million Uyghur Muslims.
It was a lot.
A lot of people. Absolutely a lot of people.
Considering the scope of that number, it was amazing when we sort of discussed this briefly last year to me that I hadn't heard more about it at that point and really hadn't heard anything about it since until this latest story, which again, China just outright denies that there's anything wrong going on. Already this week, the Commerce Department has sanctioned 11 Chinese companies over alleged human rights abuses in that same region, and the Justice Department said 2 Chinese stole intellectual property and targeted companies developing coronavirus vaccines. Which is just, again, there's so much drama in so many different ways tied up between the United States and China at this point. I don't even know where to start or what the hell is actually going on. Similarly to the Kanye story, we never get all the information we need.
No. And especially you're never going to get all the information you need from China.
You're not. And that's just generally how communism tends to operate. I just don't get where the buck stops. No pun intended. Like at what point are people like, this is not okay. Like stuff like this with China that is so, but then again, when the shoe is on the other foot, I wonder how often people in other countries are looking at what we have going on over here and going, what the fuck? I just don't know. And I'm not comparing the two. Obviously, we're not putting millions of one specific religion on trains and then having them mass produce labor at either cheap or no cost for us. To my knowledge, I hope that's not something that's occurring in the United States at the moment. Now that I'm thinking about it, it wouldn't fucking shock me in 2020. But this is just like a whole nother level of like, this is on some like genocide shit. Like this is on some like very, very scary levels of control, their ability to keep the information from getting out, even in like the Chinese press, you can't find dick all in terms of specifics regarding the Uyghur Muslim treatment in China, other than that there is very clearly something horribly wrong occurring.
And the hardest thing is because it's with the Chinese government, there's only so much that we can do to help. I've tried to find things to help, and basically it's call the White House, sign petitions, call National Red Cross organizations, and the biggest impact you can make is stop supporting fast fashion, attempt to buy local, attempt to buy, I've been trying to buy more black-owned recently, help support some small local black businesses. But other than that, it's something that the Chinese government is doing. We need to do everything we can to make our voice heard, but this is a political organization that is kept under tight lock and key that wants to make their society exactly as they see it.
Mm-hmm.
Very George Orwellian. Orwellian?
That works for me.
Yeah. But yeah, it's
fucked up story. Again, don't know how this one ends. Just another layer of chaos, of confusion, and of seemingly dangerous shit going on in China.
But something that we all should be educated about, something we all need to look deeper into, and something we should know that there are wrongdoings going on in the world. We can't afford to live in our little bubble of American isolationism anymore.
Yeah, and to your point about where things are made, man, I never, we just buy shit willy-nilly left and right. We never look into any of that stuff, and we don't care, frankly. As long as our shit works and it works for us and or it makes us happy or it looks the way we want it to, we don't give a fuck who made it or where or what cost. And that's obviously a problematic piece of American society at this point that we have to at least begin to remedy.
American consumerism.
Do the research to figure out these companies that you support, where is it that they're getting their products, and is it at the hands of something that is questionable to you and or that you're not okay with? Well, in that case, then you probably shouldn't be giving them your money. Outside of that, I don't know what else to do at this point right now. Anyway,
education.
Just another wild headline coming out of China this week. We'll give you a fun one to close out the insane headlines of the day, because this has been mostly depressing so far in terms of insane headlines. Texas's first drive-through strip club has 2-song limit. All right, it's the Vivid Gentlemen's Club in Houston, Texas, again, my hometown, that has set up, and we talked about this months ago. This is not the first drive-through strip club during COVID. It's just the first one in Texas, and it's funny for all the same reasons, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but it's Vivid Gentlemen's Club in Houston. They've separated drivers from the strippers with steel barricades, dancers, along with takeout from its bar menu, which is just, again, I never understood people who eat strip club food. They installed a massive white tent outside their 2618 Windrock Boulevard location. Inside are steel barriers separating drivers from dancers, neon lights, and loudspeakers, the Houston Chronicle reported. Some performers wear masks and some don't.
Some do, some don't,
But they're all socially distanced from the cars, Chris.
Ah.
And drivers leave tips on the pavement. So instead of making it rain onto the stage, you literally just throw the money out onto the street.
Huh. Well. Wait, so if you had the windows up, could the strippers come up in, sexy car wash style?
Nah. No, there's barricades. Barricades, Chris, and social distancing. I love that some of the strippers wear masks and some don't. I am imagining now, dancers, the dancers arguing in the dressing room, like the ones wearing the masks and the ones having the same idiotic argument that the rest of us who are wearing masks versus the people who refuse to. Wait,
Star?
Yeah, next thing you know, slap and tickle fights going on all over the place, and it's a porno now. Now it's a porno that's turned into my brain. Great.
Ross has been writing too much fanfic again.
Yeah, I can't stop. Apparently this doesn't make much money for the actual strip club, but it does help these dancers.
Really? Oh, okay, good. Okay.
In a time where obviously
we do need to help our sex workers.
Dancers and sex workers during this period are experiencing issues just like many other
What do you
sorts
think
of
the rise in OnlyFans subscription and creator percentages during our pandemic? Got to be at least 200%.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess more like 1,000%.
Really?
I'm betting it is I bet we could find some data on this, but it has to be bonkers. Think about how many sex workers, how many dancers, how many people. And by the way, OnlyFans not just for that type of shit.
No.
You can literally make it for anything, and it could be that I produce calendars with puppy pictures on them, and that's where I choose to sell them.
Yeah.
It's just the same as Patreon in
it
that
is,
form
yeah.
almost. Yeah. But yes, there is a lot of that going on there for the sake of it's a very well-built platform for that purpose and to that end.
I saw something yesterday that Ruby Rose made $22,000 in one day on OnlyFans selling pictures that were already on her Instagram.
That's genius.
Genius.
And also a little morally questionable.
Very morally questionable.
But not on the level of the Uyghur Muslim problem in China.
No. Just preying on the horniness of horny people.
Frankly, that's on horny people, dude. And better to pay for it than to get it for free and then find out later that there's some type of disturbing-ass fucking sex trafficking shit going on behind it. Why not?
That's very true.
Why not? Anyway, the Lucky Devil Lounge in Portland, Oregon was actually the first drive-through services strip club back in April. And they had been using dancers as delivery drivers before that, which is also just something I wish we had here in Austin. I'm sick of seeing the same 3 or 4 people deliver my Postmates. I would much prefer a dancer, a lovely dancer, who could perhaps do a dance on the other side of the window.
I was going to say, you have a great window for dancers.
For that very purpose.
Is that why you put the window?
That's why we installed it, just in case at some point there was a global pandemic and I wanted to have a dancer be able to dance right outside my front door.
That's
that
what
I
the
could
poll
enjoy.
Is for.
I'm a genius.
You are a genius.
Saw this all coming. Anyway.
Well, Ross and I will be visiting Houston this weekend to check it out and report firsthand.
We will report back from the Vivid Gentlemen's Club in Houston. We're going to get our 2-song limit in, chunk a bunch of ones out the side of the car, and then we'll get the hell out of there. Next segment. Let's talk about sports, baby. We have some upcoming sports updates real quick. Oh, first off, we picked a winner. We did it.
We did, actually.
For the golf tournament this past weekend, we threw out John Rahm, whatever, as one of our 3 choices. $100 on each of the choices. The man came through. He literally won the tournament. I started getting DMs on Sunday like, Rahm's in the race, dude. He might do this. And I was like, what race? They're like, the tournament, it's on. I was like, oh, fuck, I completely forgot. And then he ended up winning. He was plus $2,200, so that was $100 to win $2,200. We won $2,200.
Yeah.
If you subtract the $200 for our other 2 picks, that's $2,000 profit. And a lot of people tailed the pick.
Yeah.
I had people tweeting and Instagramming their fucking betting tickets at me and shit. Congratulations to everybody who followed. We did it. Look at us. We picked the fucking winner.
Woo!
It only took us 2. I mean, that was only 2 sets of picks we've thrown out, and we hit a winner. I'm excited about this. Very excited about this.
33% percentage, which for betting is not bad.
Not at all. We have some other updates quickly. Russell Westbrook arrived in the bubble finally after clearing enough COVID testing to join the Houston Rockets, which is huge for us. And, of course, our sponsor for this segment and our sports sponsor in general, why are we getting lit up with weird notifications at the moment?
Never heard that sound.
Is MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has up-to-the-minute odds on all your favorite teams with the start of Major League Baseball just around the corner. There's never been a better time to start playing. Again, we grabbed ourselves a winner last week. I'm throwing down on futures this week. I've got the Rockets at what are my odds on here? Oh, the Astros. I'm sorry. Throwing 100. I'm sorry. Hear me out. You join today, and MyBookie will double your deposit. That's a dollar-for-dollar match. Plus, if you sign up now, they'll also toss you a free $10 MLB future wager when you go and you use the code RBP. I am throwing my $10 future wager on the Astros plus 1,200 probably, obviously. Goes without saying. Come take the ring. You can't. From your computer or your cell phone, you've got instant access to action with MyBookie.ag, whether you're on the go or at work. Great, easy-to-use website. They make understanding the lines and all your different betting options easier than any other online sportsbook I'm aware of. They're responsive as hell on social media, have helped me with any issue I've ever had, and they've assured me they're going to take great care of y'all. So go throw down on some of these events we've got this week. And we've got another Fight Island situation going on for UFC, so I made a pick. Peter Sobata, plus 140. Absolutely no reason for this. Don't know who the guy is. Doesn't matter. Didn't have a reason for Rahm, and he won. Might as well ride this train.
That intuition, baby.
Indeed. So, yeah, MyBookie.ag, code RBP, dollar-for-dollar match. That's a 100% deposit bonus when you use the code RBP. Make sure you read how the deposit bonus works. It's not just free money. That would be insane. You have to wager a certain amount before you can withdraw based on the deposit bonus. There are stipulations and shit, but that's it. Code RBP, MyBookie.ag. Grab yourself a double the pie. You bring a slice, and then they give you a slice, and that's 2 slices of pie, and that's a 100% bonus, baby. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid. Code RBP for that extra cashish at MyBookie.ag. Shouts to them for supporting the show now that we have sports again. And, we also got our first look at the NBA bubble, inside the NBA bubble. And it is, first of all, I really like the look.
It's kind of sick.
It looks real. It's like almost futuristic feeling for some reason, but in sort of a sad way. The chairs are real spaced out, right? The few chairs that there are. Black Lives Matter in huge letters across the court, which is dope. There's these big ass screens behind the hoops.
Yep.
Instead of more seating, obviously. When I got the pictures I've seen, they all have the NBA logo on the huge screens. I'm assuming they're going to be doing some type of advertising and shit on there as well.
I was thinking
highlights.
So,
I don't know.
You know the EPL, the Premier Soccer League in England, right?
Yeah.
So they have a big screen right beside the goal, and they use that for like you can, as a fan, you can enter a Zoom call, and they have somebody going through the Zoom calls, picking fans to be able to be up on the screen.
What?
Yeah.
One of the things I saw, the Astros are selling the ability to, they're filling the stands for Major League Baseball with cutouts.
Yeah.
You can be one of the cutouts.
Ah, how much?
I don't know. Somebody hit me and was like, "You're going to do this, right?" And I was like, "Well, now I'm not."
What's your max dollar amount that you would pay to be a cutout in Astros Stadium?
$100.
Really? You'd
Depends
pay
where my
$100?
sign gets to go. If I'm front row right behind home plate, I don't know, couple grand. But it depends where I'm at. If I'm in the nosebleeds, I don't give a shit.
Very true.
It should be concurrent with whatever the seating price is, right?
Yeah.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah, I would agree. with that. But I mean, it's not like people are going to be able to recognize you from the cutout. You just want to be there. That's what it's all about. Imagine if the cutout.
No, I want the mugshot.
Just one. You're the only one that's just face, and it's just the mugshot.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes.
I wish they all had GoPros on them, and
too.
they could just like put you in your place, and then you can watch it from your seat.
That'd be weird.
Maybe. Better.
I'm in for that though. Virtual reality is the future.
True.
Speaking of the Astros, a couple of them got pegged back to back yesterday in their little summer training practice game shit. They were both on curveballs with the bases loaded, so the Astros got 2 runs out of it. It was not on purpose, and the mainstream sports media, ESPN, tried to make it about the alleged trash can banging scandal that came to light back after we won the 2017 World Series. Come take the ring, you sons of bitches. That shit, look, it's not that the Astros aren't going to get pegged at an unprecedented rate during this little season that we have. It's just that this particular instance was not that. It was a dude losing control of his curveball twice, giving up 2 runs in a game that they got stomped out in. The Astros beat them handily. And no, you don't hit guys with a curveball as punishment.
Yeah.
Non-sports people. That doesn't hurt. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, even an 80-mile-an-hour curveball, just the angle of it is so much less pain. You peg dudes with a fastball if you're trying to make a point.
Well, I saw the one
In the back, preferably.
I saw the one that I think Correa was one of the guys got hit, I believe.
Bregman definitely was.
And the video that I
thought
saw,
it was Altuve and Bregman, but I could be
might
wrong.
have been Altuve. And the way that it hit him did not look painful in any way, shape, or form. If
Right.
I were gonna hit somebody, they're not getting hit where he got hit. And it was like right here, like on the arm, kinda, and he just kind of flinched it
Walked
off
over
and
to
took his
first,
base.
and
Yeah.
a run came in.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Lots going on in sports, though. I'm very, very excited for the NBA to make its return. I cannot wait to be talking NBA in these little sports segments that we do each week. But until then, get your money in on the UFC action this weekend. We do have a pick for you. Again, Peter Sabata, plus 140, no idea why. And, of course, I'm throwing down the $10. Again, you go to mybookie.ag. They double your deposit when you use the code RBP, and they're throwing you a $10 free MLB future wager, which I'm throwing on the Astros, plus 1,200, just because I can't bet on anybody else with a baseball future other than the Astros. Code RBP, mybookie.ag. Sports! Go low, baby! Before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. You have 3 legal obligations you've been saddled with as a result of having listened to this entire podcast, whether you realize it or not. First, rate and review the show wherever you listen or watch. If there's no ability to rate and review where you listen or watch, go to Apple Podcasts, throw us 5 stars, 2 or 3 sentences about why you love the show. Check that box and move on to legal obligation number 2, which is to tell one friend, family member, coworker, neighbor, any one living, breathing human with the ability to enjoy this podcast about the show. Share it with them. Send them your favorite episode. Maybe you've got a friend who has depression or panic disorder or whatever type of mental health ailment. Send them the mental health episode from a couple weeks back. That's a great one to share and get people in the show and see what it's all about. Send them one of our sillier episodes if you're more on that vibe or wave or whatever. Share the show with one person this week, one person next week, one person every week until the week you die. And third and final legal obligation is that you use our sponsor codes this week. We got 4 great sponsors backing us. Cutsclothing.com/RBP, birddogs.com, code RBP, buyraycon.com, code or /Ross, buyraycon.com/Ross, and then of course mybookie.ag, code RBP, as we just mentioned. Follow the show on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod. We're on Facebook if you are either Cole's mom or one of our listeners' middle-aged aunts. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. My name is Ross Bolen, and my name on all those different social medias is at WRBOLEN, at WRBolen, also twitch.tv/BossRollin. Chris, where can everyone follow you on social media?
Everyone can find me at Twitter at Q0ULS, Instagram at ChrisSC99, and Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
Check out Bolen Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever RBP is available. We will be back Monday for episode 317, but before that, of course, Chris and I will be back on Friday on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast with another exclusive premium ad-free episode for dues-paying members of the RBP gang, pledging their monthly support to keep the podcast alive and growing. Minimum of just $5 monthly on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through and support the show and get more RBP. Thank you to everybody who's already doing so. You are not alone. Podman gets paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Peace be with you and also with you.